Alright, welcome to the 7th tutorial of the series. So in this tutorial I'll cover a little bit more about parallel execution and how we can achieve that with help of testng. So let's look at the structure real quick. If we very briefly look into the base util class, if you guys remember, we created a method called getLocalDriver that simply gets the corresponding drivers. So here I have an if and else statement, and if it's Chrome, then it's going to call on the driver manager factory class and get the manager and the driver type Chrome. So it's going to do the exact same thing for Firefox, but we never set up a Firefox class. So let's look real quick into the driver manager, not driver manager, sorry about that, driver manager factory. So here in the switch statement, we only have a case for Chrome, and we have a default case which is Chrome, which we've set to Chrome. So what we need to do in the driver manager factory is to create a case for Firefox, and this Firefox simply comes from the driver type enum, so which has all these constants. So when I add a case for Firefox, all I need to do is replicate the way I did for Chrome. So driver manager equals to new, and instead of saying Chrome driver manager or anything else, I'm gonna say Firefox driver manager. And this is a class that we have to create that we don't have yet. So that's fine that it's showing error, and then I'll just have to break. So what I'll have to do is, if I click on Alt Enter on Mac, I think it's Control Enter on Windows, it's going to show me the option to create the class. So I'll just click on that, and it's automatically going to point me to the current directory and the current package more specifically. So I'll click on OK, and so now we have this class created which extends from driver manager. So let's very briefly look into Chrome driver manager. So this setup was for Chrome, but but for Firefox it's pretty similar. We don't have to change a whole lot. So what I'll do is actually I'll copy this whole code and I'll just paste it right in here and accept the imports. And really what I need to change is, instead of saying Chrome driver service, what I need to say is Gecko driver service. And then let's just change the object name. So what we can do is, so we have quite a lot of names for Chrome service. So what I can do is just right click on Chrome service, go to refactor, and you can't see it on the screen, but all the way on the top there should be a rename button. So when I click on rename, I could simply just rename it, let's say Gecko service. And as we can see, all the corresponding or all the equals are being changed to Gecko service as well. So we don't have to go and change everything one by one. And here what I need to do is, in the start service, instead of saying Gecko service equals to new Chrome driver service, what I need to say is equals to new Chrome driver service, Gecko driver service. And here is another thing. In the path, we don't have a Chrome, so it's not Chrome driver, but we're going to have to say Gecko driver. We don't have that yet. I'll download it in just a second. Everything else is fine. The stop service is fine as well. Now in the create driver, instead of saying new Chrome driver, all I need to say is new Firefox driver. So now the error should go away. And if we look in the project structure, I had a driver directory which has Chrome driver, but now I need to add Gecko driver as well for Firefox. So I'll go to Google and search for Gecko driver. And the first link should be the one from github.com/Mozilla. And I'm going to download the latest version. And since I'm using Mac, I'm going to go with the Mac. You can go with the Windows depending on your operating system if you have Linux. So let me just download this real quick. And I'll just, oh, I have one already, so I'll copy that one. And I'll just paste it into the driver directory. So that should work fine. And I showed this in previous tutorials, but if you're using Windows, I think it should be double backslash, and it's .exe. Just something to remember. Alright, so now that we have that set up, you guys see how easy it is. So now if I would like to add, let's say, support for Safari or Internet Explorer, all I need to do is add another case statement here and just create a new class, and that's pretty much it. And it helps to divide it up. It's very easy to navigate, it's very easy to find and debug. Alright, so now let's look into the resources and the runner.xml file. So here we can see that we have a test block here within the suite. So for this particular example, I want to be able to run multiple tests. So what I can do here is just copy this test block and I'll paste it right down here. And we can't have two identical test block names, so what I'll change this to is Firefox local. And here's the power of a parameter in testng. So what I can simply do is just to change the value to Firefox, because we did have that configured. If you guys remember, in the base util, here we see in the parameters I'm providing the browser name. Also in the setup parameters I'm saying a string browser name, and the method getLocalDriver accepts a string. So I could say Chrome Firefox. Now we don't have an if it's something else. Let me just add that real quick. So we can say else, and we can throw a new exception. Let's say throw a new runtime exception, and here we can say no such driver found. So this is just a case to fall back to if we provide something wrong. Alright, so now that we have that set up, and here's another thing. If we look here, it says parallel equals to test, and basically what this means is that when I say parallel equals to test, I want to be able to run, doesn't matter how many tests I would have, if I added more test blocks, it would run all the tests in the same at the same time in parallel. So that's very important to notice. I'll show another example real soon. So let's just open the terminal. So what I'll do is actually I'll open it from IntelliJ, the terminal down here. And here I'll just say maven clean test. So what it should do is open a Chrome and Firefox instance at the same time. So let's just see what happens. So it's running the test suite. So it runs Chrome and Firefox. So we can see it runs at the same time. So, but the test case is very small, so it just ended real quick for the Chrome one. But both kind of started almost at the same time. So it's just closing down right now. So that worked just fine. So we can see test run equal to 2, and the build was successful. So let's look at another example. So let me just remove the second test block. And in the parallel, if I would say, so let me just go into the parallel by clicking on commands and clicking on it. I think on Windows you can say control and then clicking on it. So we go into this file where we can see this. So the parallel have multiple options. We can provide false, true, none, methods, test, classes, instances. It simply depends on what you need at the moment. So if I would say classes, what it would do is within this test block it would try to find, so now I have just one class. So let me just copy this and paste it. Let's say that I have 3 different classes, and all these 3 different classes have different tests to run. So if I provide it like this, and within parallel I say classes, so whenever I run the same command from the terminal, or if I run this XML file by right-clicking and click on run, it should run all the tests from the classes at the same time. So it'll not run all the test cases at the same time, it'll run one test case from each class, but at the same time. So it should open up 3 driver instances. And it really depends on what you're trying to do, but that's how we do parallel execution with testng.